Hey everyone, welcome back to Let's Talk. My name is John, and today we're going to be talking about 1998's Bride of Chucky and its brand new 4K Blu Ray that just came out from Scream Factory. So Bride of Chucky was originally released back in 1998. It was directed by Ronnie Yu, who also directed Freddy vs. Jason, so for me, he's 2 for 2 as far as late 90s, early 2000s horror films go. And this is the fourth film in the Child's Play franchise, renamed Bride of Chucky as an homage or inspired by Bride of Frankenstein. Bride of Chucky is where the franchise reinvented itself after the entire Andy storyline of Child's Play 1 through 3 and taking 7 years off of the franchise. You know, in the early 90s, horror was really struggling. They were really getting bad box office returns. They couldn't shake off that 80s slasher stigma, and horror just wasn't doing that well. There were some gems in there, like movies like The Exorcist 3 or The Frighteners, but their box office returns weren't reflecting the quality of those films. And all that changed in December of 1996 when Scream came out. And that was it. Horror was back. It became very meta. They were commenting on all of the 1980s tropes. And that is exactly what the Child's Play franchise needed. And they reinvented themselves with Bride of Chucky, the movie that took the doll from the first 3 films, played by Brad Dourif, who did the voice work for Charles Lee Ray, who then turns into Chucky, and we bring him back as a comedy slasher character. And we have to give him a bride, and that bride is going to be played by Jennifer Tilly.
Having a big church wedding with bridesmaids and a cake.
An Academy Award nominated actress, and she does a phenomenal job in this movie as Tiffany. She used to be the lover of Charles Lee Ray before he, got caught and transferred his body into Chucky, a good guy doll. But she's been hanging on to that love for all of these years. She's got the ring that she thought was left for her. She thought that they were going to get married, but little does she know that Charles Lee Ray, Chucky, he's an asshole. She remembered he was, but she just couldn't get past that. So when she brings him back to life with some sort of seance, she's like, no. She's basically going to torture him to this point. But he gets his revenge on her and turns her into a doll as well. And now their relationship is going to be going to new heights. They're basically just like the Natural Born Killers or Bonnie and Clyde, except they're psychopaths just like the Natural Born Killers. But their storyline crosses over with Katherine Heigl and Nick Staboli's characters, 2 high school kids who just can't take Katherine Heigl's overbearing uncle, played by the late, great John Ritter in this movie. So they decide they're going to run away. But little do they know that they have these 2 dolls in the back of their van, these 2 serial killers, and that is going to be causing some serious problems for them throughout the rest of this movie. And this movie really is the breath of fresh air that the Child's Play franchise needed. It's a lot of fun. It's got great music. This is where I first found out about Rob Zombie. And Living Dead Girl is a damn good masterpiece. White Zombie's Thunder Kiss 65. Those are the 2 standout songs in this movie. It's very well shot. It feels very much like the late 1990s. All those rain scenes, all that stuff just works out so well in this movie. It's just a great time. It comes in at under 90 minutes. It never takes itself too seriously. It's basically a satire of the previous 3 Child's Play movies. He's just swearing up and down throughout this entire movie. He's making comments about the previous 3 movies. He's having sex with Jennifer Tilly, which is ridiculous that there is a sex scene in this movie, really making fun of the early 1990s sex scenes. And honestly, it's probably better than a lot of them, so damn good scene there. And it's just an out-and-out fun movie. It might not be to the quality of like the first 2 Child's Play movies, but it is definitely, in my opinion, a more enjoyable movie. This is one I put on every single year. It is my favorite film in the Child's Play franchise. I think it's worlds better than its sequel, Seed of Chucky, which I think is one of the worst films, not just in the franchise, but ever made. That movie is just absolutely atrocious. And then Cult of Chucky and Curse of Chucky are pretty good. I don't love them as much as I love this movie. This movie is just so much fun. You get so many laughs. It's never taking itself too seriously. It's really like getting in a time machine and going back 25 years to 1998, seeing all the old police cars, the cars that people are driving, seeing the late John Ritter is always fun, even though nobody in this movie is going to win an Academy Award. It's not that well acted. The script is pretty poor at best, but you're not there for that. That's not what this type of movie is. You're there to just have a good time, sit back, turn your brain off, and just enjoy a good old-fashioned meta horror comedy that is never going to take itself too seriously, and you shouldn't take it too seriously as well. And if you haven't seen this one and you wrote the franchise off after Child's Play 3, I definitely can recommend you check this one out, even if it's not on this new 4K Blu-ray that we're going to talk about right now. But before we dive into that, if you are a fan of 4K Blu-ray reviews, movie reviews, lists, podcasts, and shorts, we try and do them all here on the channel, and nothing would help this channel out more than by just simply liking this video and subscribing to the channel.
Tiff, those dishes aren't gonna wash themselves, you know.
So here it is, Bride of Chucky on 4K Blu-ray, courtesy of Scream Factory. This was actually originally supposed to come out in July, but it got delayed 1 month. Last year we actually got Child's Play 1 through 3 on 4K Blu-ray, so people are always wondering, when are we going to get the other ones on 4K? And sure enough, this year we get the final 4 films on 4K Blu-ray. That's Bride of Chucky, Seed of Chucky, Cult of Chucky, and Curse of Chucky. Now, I had this previous Blu-ray box set before I started upgrading to 4K, and this goes up to Curse of Chucky, so it doesn't include Cult of Chucky. The year after this came out, they released like a good guy. It's in a yellow box set. It looks really cool, and that one would include Cult of Chucky, so that's where the definitive collection was. And then Scream Factory started releasing them on 4K Blu-ray last year, not in a big box or anything. They're all individually released. Even this year, they're all individually released, and if you buy them through Scream Factory, you get plenty of other extra stuff just besides the regular slipcover edition that you can buy like I did from Best Buy or Amazon. So buying it through Scream Factory definitely has its perks. It did last year with the first 3 films, and it does this year with the last 4 films. Now, I personally, like I said earlier in the review, I hate Seed of Chucky. I despise that film. I just do not like that movie at all. That movie is just atrocious to me. It's a 0 out of 10 in my opinion. There's nothing out of it that I enjoy. It just took what they did in Bride of Chucky and they went way too far with it. Now, Cult and Curse of Chucky are pretty good. I just don't love them. I'm not ever going to really ever go back to them, so I'm okay with just having this previously released box set, just because if I ever do want to go back and watch Seed of Chucky, just say somehow I got possessed and decided to turn it on, I have it in here. I don't need to go and get the 4K Blu-ray for that. I don't think I need to see Seed of Chucky in 4K. Now, Bride of Chucky, this 4K Blu-ray has HDR10, Dolby Vision, and its audio tracks are a DTS HD 5.1, and there is also a DTS 2.0 mono track. Now, that is the same exact DTS 5.1 and 2.0 that I've been following around since this set came out. So there is no upgrades to the audio, at least that I could tell. They're not promoting it like it's a brand new DTS mix, and it sounded almost identical, so I'm just going to go ahead and assume it's the exact same audio track. Now, the visuals, where you're going to get the biggest upgrade is with the HDR and the Dolby Vision. But before we dive into that, I just want to show you guys the slipcover, because it is a nice slipcover. You slide it off, you get the same artwork underneath. There is no alternate cover art, and this was the original movie poster, so that makes sense. You go inside, it's a 2-disc set. You get your 4K Blu-ray and you get your Blu-ray, and that Blu-ray is going to include all of your extras. And the extras, again, nothing new here. They're pretty good, but there is nothing new that you haven't gotten before. The making of documentary is only about 10 minutes long. It's really more of like promotion than it is actually a documentary about the making of the film. You even have an interview in there with Brad Dourif playing Chucky, which is cool. I always appreciate that. They did something similar to that in Hugo with Sacha Baron Cohen's character doing an interview in character. So when they do that, I always appreciate it. But there is nothing really too special in here. You get deleted scenes, stuff that has been following around these film since its previous DVD releases, I'm pretty sure. So nothing new here. So the only thing you're going to be receiving that's new from previous editions is that 4K Blu-ray scan. And that scan is a big upgrade over the previous Blu-ray that I have, and I think the Blu-ray that's in here is just a compressed 1080p version of this new 4K, which is fine, but the 4K really does stand out, and it's very rare where I go that the Dolby Vision is better than the HDR10, but I did notice that the Dolby Vision is slightly better than the HDR10 here. The HDR10 is good, but I actually did notice that the Dolby Vision was doing a little bit more work as far as hitting like the deep blacks and kind of eliminating a little bit more film grain. Now, the film grain in this is not that bad at all, whether you watch it on HDR10 or Dolby Vision. It's a very limited amount. It was actually also there on the previous Blu-ray. It's just always going to be there, and that is fine. It's nothing overwhelming, but you might notice it if you're looking for it. And this is already, like I said earlier, a beautifully shot film. It feels like 1998, so it looks really good. The rain scenes at night all look really good. Now, the 4K is just going to enhance all that, turn the resolution up, and the blacks are going to be a slightly deeper, and the colors are just going to be more brighter and more vibrant. And it isn't really a night and day jump from the previous Blu-ray to this 4K. I heard people complaining about the previous Blu-ray. Maybe it's just because my players upscale it pretty well, but I didn't think the previous Blu-ray was that bad, and comparing that previous Blu-ray to this new 4K Blu-ray, it really isn't like the world's biggest jump. It took the visuals, which were already pretty good, like a 7 out of 10 in my opinion, and raised them up to about a 9.5 out of 10. I have almost no complaints about the visuals. Obviously, some of the daytime scenes look amazing in comparison to the previous Blu-ray. You know, early in the movie where Jennifer Tilly has the trunk out and she's trying to get in the car and that guy comes over to help her, or later in the movie when the state trooper spins around on the highway and they have that shootout with the van. Like on the Blu-ray, that looked very flat, and then on the 4K though, it really does enhance those scenes. But if you're comparing like the opening scene in the rain with the police car and Living Dead Girl playing to the Blu-ray to the 4K, those look almost identical. Very little differences there. It really is a scene-to-scene thing, but like I said, I felt like the previous Blu-ray really wasn't that bad, so upgrading it to 4K, it's just enhancing it and making it better. And it really is definitely a better visual experience than it had been previously. It's just not as big of a jump as it was like Child's Play 2 from Blu-ray to 4K, I felt like had the biggest jump overall. Child's Play 1 to 4K wasn't as big of a jump either. And Child's Play 3, same thing, very similar to what Bride of Chucky is. Now, I haven't seen Seed of Chucky, Cult, or Curse of Chucky on 4K, but I imagine it's a very similar situation where the jump might not be the biggest jump you've ever seen, but it's definitely a noticeable upgrade. And if you're a fan of Bride of Chucky like I am and you watch it every single year, you're definitely going to be happy that you picked up this 4K Blu-ray for the visuals. Like I said earlier, the audio is exactly the same. It's a DTS HD 5.1. It's a good one. Back in the late 90s, those movies had a lot of licensed tracks on it, and this one is no different, and all that stuff just comes booming through your speakers. Great sound effects, making great use of the 5 channels and the bass that it's really using. Obviously it's the late 90s, so you got a lot of bass in there, and it all works out good. I thought it's a very solid track. Would I have liked the brand new mix? Absolutely. I think this is the kind of film that would really benefit from a brand new Dolby Atmos track, but I can't imagine us getting that anytime soon, so we're going to have to stick with this audio track, which is good. Can't sell that short. It's still probably like a 8 out of 10 audio track as far as DTS tracks go. It's just nothing that's going to blow you away, and it would have been cool to get a brand new audio track. And really, that's what it's going to boil down to. It's just that I felt like we didn't get enough new in here as far as Bride of Chucky. But most people are going to be buying all of these movies anyway in one big group, instead of just buying one film like I did. I cherry-picked Bride of Chucky. I want to have just the first 4 films on 4K, and now I do, and I'm very happy with my purchase. It's just not the biggest upgrade, and it includes really a lot of the same stuff that I had already had. So that's really the only disappointment in here, but I am not too disappointed with it. I think right now this is going for $24, and for a slipcover, 2 discs, a 4K upgrade, I could definitely recommend it at that price. If I was going to give this 4K Blu-ray a score of 1 to 10, I would still give it a very solid 8 out of 10. It's definitely an upgrade, and if you're a fan of Bride of Chucky, I can definitely recommend it. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for being a fan of Let's Talk. I really appreciate you guys being here with me today, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, get out in those streets, and tell your friends about us. We'll be seeing you around.